As I stepped into the foyer of the school for the very first time, I took a few moments to look around me, as any naturally curious child would do. It was a bright, white, austere environment, a stark contrast to my home, which was warm, cozy, and well lived in. My thoughts were suddenly interrupted by a woman's friendly voice coming from behind me, and as I spun around, I heard, "Good morning! I'm Mrs. Goodwin, and I'm your kindergarten teacher." She had a warm and pleasant smile, and she was wearing a huge, billowing dress. It had a floral print all over it, of big pink and blue flowers. The best way to describe it would be to say that it looked like one of Grandma's old moo-moos. She stretched out her chubby little fingers towards me, and as I held tightly onto her hand, she led me across the room to a neat row of clothing hooks. She pointed her finger to a brightly colored picture above one of them, and she said, "This is your hook. It's the spinning top. Do you think you'll be able to remember it?" I still do, even to this day. Life on the kindergarten wing at Claremont Road Junior School soon took on a strict regime of learning and play. The television played a vital role in our learning experience. There were only 3 TV channels back then. Nevertheless, at 9:30 a.m., every child in every home and school throughout the nation stopped what they were doing to view a show called Watch with Mother. Now, Watch with Mother was a show that, on the surface, consisted of story time and songs. But I now know, on careful reflection, it was so much more. It motivated us, it stimulated our imagination, and it taught us about morals, values, and dignity. You see, the soil was being prepared. The most anticipated part of the day came after nap time. After we had rubbed the sleep out of our eyes, Mrs. Goodwin handed us a sheet of drawing paper. It had a line drawing all over it. And after she showed us what to do, she handed us some crayons and said, "Begin coloring." I was totally fascinated. You see, I had never seen crayons before. Hard little sticks of brilliant color. I picked up a handful of them. They were pristine. Untouched by other sticky little fingers, I held them up to my nose and I began to smell them. The aroma was intoxicating, and most likely toxic as well back then. As I began to rub the crayon over the surface of the paper, the aroma became even more potent. And it was right there, in that moment. It was as if time stood still. I felt a quickening in my spirit. And I knew that this was exactly what I was created to be. An artist. The seed had been planted. Mrs. Taylor and Mrs. Bennett were my high school art teachers, and they were the exact opposites, like chalk and cheese. Mrs. Taylor was stoic and refined, and Mrs. Bennett was wild and crazy, a little bit like a female Salvador Dali. But it was Mrs. Taylor who saw something in me that I never even knew existed. I mean, I knew that I liked art, but I never really believed that I was good at it. But she did. She believed in me. She guided and nurtured my creative talents. Mrs. Taylor saw the promise of an accomplished artist in me, and she was relentless in her encouragement. She hung my work around the school and entered it into shows and museums. It was Mrs. Taylor who helped me to understand what Helen Keller said about her teacher, Anne Sullivan. She said, All of the best in me belongs to her. There is not a talent, an aspiration in me that has not been awoken by her loving touch. Who was that special person in your life who awakened the seeds of greatness in you? Was it your teacher? Was it your mother, your father, or a treasured friend? What did they say to plant the seed, to nurture the seed, to help it to grow? And how did it propel you onto the path of greatness? Whatever it was, it made you feel good, didn't it? For many years, I worked as a textile surface designer in New York City. And then I eventually became an art teacher. Now, I am the one perpetually planting the seeds of creativity into the hands of eager little children every day. And when I hand them fistfuls of crayons, I delight in their oohs and their ahs. As I teach, I am transferring my love of art to them, just as Mrs. Taylor, Mrs. Bennett, and Mrs. Goodwin had done for me. Every seed of greatness that you plant into the life of another human being has the potential to grow and multiply itself tenfold. Sow something positive into the life of someone that you know today. Inspire them, encourage them, help them to discover their hidden potential so that they too can be the person that they were created to be. And what about you? Do you have a hidden talent or a gift that is lying dormant, waiting for the right time? Don't wait any longer. The right time is now.